Did you know Chinx drugs at all?
I knew some people who knew him. I think I met him once a long time ago.
Yeah.
God rest his soul, man. That's a horrible thing to happen to anybody, and just want to send my condolences out to his family and stuff like that.
Well, Meek Mill went on Twitter after this happened, and he said, "This is exactly the reason why I don't fuck with the hood anymore." It just brings up a very interesting point because Stack Bundles, who Chinx looked up to, was killed in a similar type of fashion, going back to his old neighborhood. With me, I didn't grow up in the hood. I've spent some time in the hood during various parts of my life, during my various ups and downs, but I didn't grow up in the hood. I grew up middle class. But I came up in, hood clubs, parties, that type of stuff. And a lot of the stuff that we cover on Vlad TV, we give light to a lot of communities that don't really get a lot of light. So when I go to like South Side of Chicago, when I go to East Oakland, and when I go to various places, like I get a lot of love in these places. I also understand though that not everyone's going to be happy to see me. And as I get older and I have more to lose, I have to understand that I can't just go everywhere the way I used to. I have to bring security with me to certain places, and there's certain places I just don't go at all because I feel like there's too much of a potential for violence.
Where would you never go?
Where would I never go? I don't know. I don't know if there's a place I would never go because I've been damn near everywhere. I've been to the favelas in Brazil, I've fairly dangerous places, guns, little kids on the roof with guns and stuff like that. I think ultimately, you get passes into certain places and you talk to certain people and you feel okay. But
well, let me just stop you there.
Yeah.
Don't you think that makes the difference about going into any hood? Like if you know the people who are there in the community, it's different if
But you don't know everyone.
That's true.
Not everyone. You ain't going to talk to every person there ahead of time and get there okay.
You're right, but I always say if you're a person that gives back to the community and people know that, then at least there may be a little bit more leeway that you're given. That's not always true though. Sometimes people look at that and they say, oh, here's a person that's here, let's take advantage of them real quick and rob them or something like that. I mean, that happens all the time. I think one thing I can honestly say, Vlad, is for me, I've never had this. I've been in a lot of different hoods, right?
Yeah.
I've been in a Sureño hood, a Norteño hood. I've been in a Latin King hood. I'm from New York, so there's bloods everywhere. I mean, But at the same time, Latin King, like I said, Trinitario. So I've known so many gangs from different type Asian gangs. The interesting thing about when I look at that sort of development process, it reminds me and it makes me think about when I went home to Latin America and people recognized me for the first time. And yeah, I did notice a couple of people look at me sideways like, is he really here in the middle of the hood? Like I was walking through Callao in Peru, which is like, believe me, that's a hardcore place to be. Okay. And what I saw there was not the hood that I looked down upon. It was a hood full of struggling poor people that came from a beautiful culture that were just trying to make it. And the reality is that poverty makes people do reckless things, but rich people do way worse to protect the money that they have and to take advantage of things. I remember when I was a little kid and I was out in Latin America, I turned around and someone had stolen something from me. They left like a bag or something there. And I turned around, and by the time I turned around, the person was like 3 blocks away, running away as fast as they could.
Right.
And even though that person stole from me, I thought to myself, and my dad sat me down and he was like, even though that person stole from us, realize that at least the dignity of their theft is that they were starving and they did that to feed their family. They didn't steal it so they could look cool in front of their friends and buy Jordans. They didn't steal it so they could try and feel like the man in front of their peoples. They didn't steal it so they could have right. It wasn't for the gram, exactly. It wasn't for YouTube. It wasn't to post up and to brag about. It was a case of survival. And to be honest, I respect poor people who steal a fuck of a lot more than I respect rich people who steal, because they don't need it. And they're out there robbing people for God knows what, you know? Besides, a petty criminal steals from you. A real gangster makes you take his money, Vlad, you know? A real gangster would be like, you know, I'm not gonna rob Vlad. I'm gonna give him the phone and say, hey, Vlad, your daughter's on the phone right now with the homies, and she thinks it's a good idea for you to sell Vlad TV or a percentage of it to me. You know, that's some gangster shit. Or go to someone's country and say, you know, Vlad, you're the president of this country, and if you don't want to see your fucking country overthrown, and then you're gonna give me these contracts for oil or water resources. Shit like that really happens, dude. So, I mean, what can you say?
Eminem is a king in his own right. He has changed hip hop. Before Eminem, all the white guys you would probably try to say, and I'm not dissing any of them, but besides the Beastie Boys, was kind of dressing black, was kind of trying to be black.
Gucci being the guy that he is, as soon as he would introduce me to somebody else that's big or major or meant something to him, he'll brag about me, but he'll brag the fact that I don't drink, smoke, or cuss, or